Welcome back to Titan Academy. In this video, we will cover styling input fields. We will discuss styling the input fields using the project style panel, the root properties, variant, primary color, and size, when to use the label and shrink label, input style properties for main text, prefix, and suffix, placeholder, and message styles. Titan offers a variety of input elements ranging from the most simple and commonly used elements like a text box to more irregular inputs like date range or file upload. An input is a field that enables the user to put something inside, text, a signature, a file, etc., or to select an option or value. Inputs are usually built of a label and a box. Since the input fields are considered a group and can be styled as a group as well as separately, we will demonstrate their styling in the Project Style panel. When you open this panel, you will see the relevant parts of the input group on the left: root, label, shrink label, etc. You will also see that all controls under root is selected, meaning all input elements will be included if you make any style changes. However, the fact that all controls are said to be included does not mean that they will actually all be affected. The reason is that not all inputs are built from the same parts, and so affecting a part will only apply to those elements that have similar structure. For example, if you styled a placeholder for all elements, it cannot be applied on a radio button because the radio button doesn't really have a placeholder. It has an input, a caption, and a label, but it doesn't have a placeholder. Okay, let's start styling and talk about the most important properties of the inputs. Since we want our inputs to look similar, it is recommended to start off by setting their common styles as a group, choosing their variant, setting their primary color, and setting a size. Let's talk about the main options in the root. The element variant under the root offers 5 different looks or variants, as we call them: standard, filled, outlined, fixed, and classic. I'll leave it as standard. The variant can only apply to regular looking input fields like text, numeric, search, phone, date, currency, or lookup. A radio button or a switcher, for example, are not affected by variant. The primary color is a dominant color in the input field. In some fields, setting the primary will apply it to the border, like in a text box, while in other elements, it will affect the input fill when turned on, like in radios or checkboxes. Let's change this to green, and we'll preview. Setting a size can also be used as a way to make the same width and height for all elements. Just keep in mind that maybe there are fields that you will not want to be affected by this, and you will need to correct it separately after that. For example, if you set all heights to 50 pixels, then you will see that your text box and text box area field look the same because of the height. If you want your text area to be higher, you will need to select it separately and apply a different setting. I'll now go back to all controls. Next, let's talk about the label and shrink label parts. The label is the descriptive text above the input box. Notice that while there's one label per element, there are 2 parts listed: label and shrink label. Why is that? In most cases, the default mode for a label is always shrink. This is under shrink label, always shrink. This means that the label stays static above the input box and therefore needs to be styled with the properties under the shrink label part. I'll make this 18 pixels and blue. If the always shrink mode is turned off, the label turns into a floating label, which means that it changes its position. It first sits inside the input when focused on. It seems to float above the input, like so. When a floating label is used, you will then need to set the two label parts to create this transition. You will need to set the style for the label when it is situated inside the input, and then also use a different style for when it reaches its position above in the float label part. The regular label is black and 16 point. Let's change that black to red. And now let's see how this looks. Red normal, blue floating. Next is the input. This is the main part of the field. It is where the user focuses to enter data. What's important to know is that inputs, in addition to holding the user-entered text, can also contain prefix text, prefix icons, as well as suffix text or a suffix icon. And that is why we see properties for that under user input. Let's set a currency prefix and suffix. This is done by selecting the specific currency field. On the currency settings, interactivity, prefix, and suffix. And we can configure these two. I'll click the gear icon on the prefix, and I'll change the type from text to icon. I'll configure the icon, and we'll add an account balance icon. I'll configure the suffix. We'll leave that as text and put USB. And there we go. Let's go back to the project styling menu. In the input part, we can stylize the prefix icon and the suffix font. For example, we could change the prefix icon color to green. Notice how this changes. I'll leave that as it was. We can also change the suffix text font. Notice how the font changes. I'll leave this as it was. Another important part in the input elements are the messages. These enable you to style the error and valid messages that appear under the input when the entered text is found to be valid or invalid. Here, you can set the message's font. You can set a success color for the font and input border for when the entered text is found to be valid. I'll change that to blue. And an error color for the text and input border when the content is found to be invalid. Let's change that to yellow. You can also choose in an individual element setting, interactivity, to show or hide valid or error text messages. I'll disable that for this email field, and I'll make it mandatory. I paused the video and added a button to push data to Salesforce, and we now have a required text field and a required email field. Let's look at how the valid and invalid text messages look now. I'll go ahead and preview this. If I attempt to push the data to Salesforce without the required fields, we get an error message saying the text field is mandatory, and the is mandatory field message is in the color that we set. When we enter data into the email field, this is an invalid value because it is not in an email format. Notice that this message is also in the color that we set, and so is the input border. Once the input is valid, the message changes to good, and the color changes to the color that we set for a valid message. And that is how it's done.